Welcome, friends, to another Reaper's Review. Doug Turner, I am here with a man to my left, who in France is known as l'enfant du cinéma. Here in the States, we say kid flick. Actually, they'd probably just say kid flick in France too. No, just go with it. Stephen Hido, a.k.a. Kid Flick, and today we are ranking our top 10 French films with a caveat them being in our lifetimes.
Released in our lifetime,
say in the last 4 decades or so.
Yeah.
This all came about. I have seen a few foreign films, French films that I've liked, and I said, "Hey, Steve, what if we did foreign films?" And you're like, "That's preposterous. You can't just group all foreign language films into one category." I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." I said, "What if we pick one?" And he said, "Well, if you pick German or Italian, I can't narrow those down either, so I'm going to block your number if you even mention those." And I was like, "Okay, well, what about French?" And then there were some other stipulations.
Yeah.
How about French movies from the 80s with directors who are left-handed? How about that? No, I'm kidding. He just has seen more French films than I have. But I have seen some that I liked, and then I've seen some recently preparing for this that I like are on my list as well. So I'm down with the topic. What do you think?
I like it. I like it. I mean, I had to laugh, when you pretty much, informed me that you were forcing me to do a podcast. I was like, okay, I guess that could be fun, but I don't want to sound like two pompous white assholes on the internet. Please don't make me sound like that. And then, 4 episodes in, you're like, French films. I'm like, thank you, Douglas. That is a great way to not sound like pompous assholes on the internet. Yeah. But I think we're going to make it work for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said foreign films in general. So, and you were just like, what do you mean you can't just lump them all into
movies with women in them? It's like, okay.
We're branching out. We're trying new things. I'll jump right into it. My number 10 is High Tension. For one thing, it looks phenomenal. I don't know how you get a movie to look like that. To me, the shots are the star of this film. It is suspenseful. It's scary. It's gory.
I love the aesthetic of that movie. It's a movie that just looks scary. So many movies that come out, so many American horror movies, it's like they look like shampoo commercials. So it's like what's going on is obviously technically impressive, but it's like, man, does this look like a movie with just the clarity and the cool camera moves. There's just something about
the
that.
tint. The tint of the
My number 10. This one I saw when it came out and just loved it from the first time I saw it with a friend like Harry. French people are so good at doing thrillers like this. When Americans do thrillers, they tend to sort of throw the kitchen sink at you, and French people are so good at just some guy shows up. He's kind of creepy. There's a dead cat on the lawn. Did he kill it? And it's just there's so much negative space, I guess, if you were going to compare it to a painting, where it's you don't really know what's there, but there's just an uneasy feeling about it. And this is such a good example. I feel French people make that movie a lot. It's almost like their slasher movie. And this is just a very good example.
Are there any parallels to it with What About Bob?
a little bit, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
It is sort of a French scary What About Bob?
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I haven't seen it. I want to see it.
Okay.
But that as soon as I saw the title, that reminded me of just kind of
no, it is. No, that's not a ridiculous question, actually. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, good call.
right on. All right, jumping into my number 9, La Haine, The Hate. This film feels very edgy and angry. I like the choice to shoot it in black and white. I started watching it. I was immediately thought of early Scorsese movies, and the character Vincent Cassel's character even does a monologue in front of the mirror kind of thing. Yeah. So it's very much tipping its hat to what came before. But it does have that energy. Yeah. It has that high energy. It's one of those films that just feels like it's coming out of the television at you because there's just so much energy and anger and tension. It revolves. I like the kind of central thing that it revolves around the missing pistol. Gives it an interesting. There's a lot of chaotic things going on, but it gives it that interesting through line of something's going to happen with this pistol. It's there for a reason. And then the way it ends, I'm not going to spoil too much, but I like the open-endedness of it, where you're not exactly sure what's going to happen when it goes to black or when the camera pans away or whatever. I'm okay with it. I'm not always okay. Sometimes I think it's a cop-out, but with this one, I think it's meant to leave you wondering what's going to happen. But yeah, enjoyed the film. La Haine.
My number 9. You see American movies sometimes with that involve not just sex, but even intimacy. And you kind of question, like, have the people involved in this movie ever, like, been in love? Have they ever had intercourse? Have they ever, like, really cared about another person and felt that vulnerable about it? Because it's just not coming across on screen. French people often don't have the same problem. And with blue as the warmest color, that movie definitely doesn't have that problem because it just feels so immediate. Just the sex feels real and the emotions feel just so, yow. I don't know, like cautious and on the surface, and just it's just it seems like it wouldn't be that hard of a thing to look. Okay, so just film people being intimate and having sex. That doesn't seem like it would be like filming, the sinking of the Titanic. But few people get it as right as this movie gets it, and just an amazing piece.
So for my number 8, Age of Uprising: The Legend of Michael Kohlhaas. This is another one I was aware of kind of getting knocked in the reviews a few years ago when it came out.
Okay, this is one I have not seen. I've heard of it, but I've not seen this one.
Yeah, and from what I could tell, like...
Who's the lead?
Mads. And,
Yes.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
I have seen my share of period pieces or war movies or medieval movies or whatever where the plot is just handed to you like a big platter of nachos. Like, here's what it's all about, and it's just bong bong. So I enjoyed this one for the fact that it was kind of different. Like, it's about a guy kind of having his raising a rebellion and going against the local authorities and waging a little bit of a war, and they don't really give you all the pieces along the way, but it looks good. It's interesting. It's sort of like, to me, it's like a Braveheart without like being as cringy. And kind of scaled back and like without the Hollywood pomp and circumstance.
Nice. My number 8 is, when we made this, the clause, when we put the stipulation on this match of the movies are in our lifetime, part of it was just so, to focus us and so we wouldn't have to worry about, like, the grand masters like, Renoir, and we wouldn't have to worry about the new wave. But just so happens that in 1976, Francois Truffaut sneaks in my list with Small Change. Yeah, love Small Change. I just feel the abandonment and the hopefulness and the heartbreak of childhood is sort of like the tension of childhood is all in this movie. So Truffaut still swinging heavy late into his career. Yeah,
cool. All right, my number 7, Beau Travail, Good Work. Apparently is what that means. This one, a lot of what I like about French films is they seem to fill in gaps in a way that I don't get. I think they wisely say, okay, we're not going to try to like out-explosion Hollywood. Let's kind of like focus on this other thing. And this film is about soldiers. They don't ever really fight a battle. It's just a lot of them training. And it's told, it's kind of in flashback of the main guy played by Dennis Levant, which I don't know this, but to me almost seems kind of like a French De Niro from what I can gather. I've seen him in a few films, and he's just like really intense and really able to embody his characters and everything. I found the film is fantastic to look at and interesting. And again, it's not trying to do anything in a war movie that we haven't seen before. It's just focusing on a different aspect of it. And I liked it a lot.
My number 7 is, my number 7. Talk about a tone that I would love to hit in like something I would make, but I don't think I'm ever going to, just because, man, it's just so uniquely French. It's Baxter. Movie, starring a dog. The dog has his own voiceover. Sounds ridiculous. It never doesn't work for a single second.
Gentil. Ça s'est arrangé pour elle.
Yeah, it's just such a crazy movie, but like not like, oh wow, this is such a wacky movie. It takes itself so kind of straight. It's so kind of like tied down to its own kind of like moral and creative tone that it just totally works. That I just absolutely love this movie. It's in like a lot of the horror books, and you watch it and you're like, God, I'm not even sure if this is a horror movie, but I love that.
So it's the type of film you'd like to make?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
very much so. Very much so, yeah. Very much like it knows what it wants to be, but the audience has to sort of figure out what that is.
Okay.
But you know that it knows what it wants to be.
Okay. Cool. For my number 6, going with Van Gogh, the 1991, obviously French version. There's quite a few Van Goghs out there flying around.
I've never seen this one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I really like this one. I would venture to say this is the most subtle.
Okay.
and it being the French one, you could
Yeah.
picture it as just kind of like, you don't get the shot of him just like, and here's the masterpiece, and then like give me an absinthe and
Yes.
just give me a woman, and
Okay.
he just kind of like quietly trudges out to a field with his easels and his paint. And he's probably working on a masterpiece, but then you don't even see it, and he kind of goes back.
Yes.
So it takes its time. At first, I really wasn't that into it, but it's one that grew on me as it continued. Jacques Dutronc is the main actor. I thought he did a really good job. He really sucks you in. It's very subtle. This is I have 2 films on my list with this director, Maurice Pialat. This is the first one. Oh, I forgot to mention that's my look here.
I think they got it.
Van Gogh, the 1991 version.
Okay, my number 6. I'm going with Frontiers. This is one of those movies that gets a lot of shit just by people like complaining online, because that's what people like to do online. But man, does this movie work for me? It's just fun. It's nonstop. The haircut scene, just that haircut scene where the lead gets her haircut by like the regressed, like weird, friendly like daughter of like the Nazi psychopaths.
Sie sind wunderschön.
That's like the best example I could think of for a scene in a horror movie of how you maintain the horror but get character in. Sometimes horror movies just stop themselves, and then it's like, okay, we'll do a character scene. God, I love that scene where she cuts her hair. If you see it, you'll get it. Yeah, I don't know if the old guy that played the dad was like nominated for like a César Award or any awards in France, but man, that dude just every time that guy walks in the room, I get nervous. That's a movie I could watch again and again, and it's just fun. It's brutal but fun.
All right, heading into the second half, my number 5 is one that appeared on my top 10 love story romance films, Rust and Bone.
Nice.
Jacques Audiard, and he does also appear on my list twice. Him and Maurice Pialat.
Okay. Wow.
As directors appear on my
Okay.
list twice. I didn't realize it until I was kind of listing everything out and thought, wow. But I really like Rust and Bone as a love story. It looks great. The story moves pretty well at a nice clip. Cotillard as the lead actress is great.
Boss, yeah.
Great performance. She's also gorgeous.
Yeah.
The lead dude, Schoenhertz, I believe is his last name, Matthias Schoenhertz. I like him in other movies, but he's great as a bare knuckle boxer. So I just think it has more of a cultural appeal to people
No, that's
outside
fair.
of France in
Yeah.
general.
My number 5. Yeah, I feel this movie's just. I hate when people say this movie's got it all, but this movie kind of Diva. I feel kind of has it all.
The film that has it all.
From 1981. I mean, it's just like it's got the unlikely romance, it's got the suspense, it's got like the intrigue with the cops, and it's got the ultimate MacGuffin with the tapes, and it says something about I don't know, creativity and the cost it takes to be a creative person. Yeah, God, the brief chase, but there's a chase like on the street, and they go down into these cool tunnels. Man, it's just this is a director that hasn't I'm not super familiar with him. He did Betty Blue, which is a movie that kind of got more acclaim than this did, and I always thought that movie was sort of a mess. So, but man, this one movie, this dude was on point. It's just like, love this movie. It's got one of my favorite theme lines of any movie. Enjoyment. What is it? Enjoyment is never unmotivated.
Okay.
Man.
There you go.
You always look for that, like if they state the theme in the movie. And man,
Yeah.
that one is enjoyment is never unmotivated. That's something to think about and live by. Yeah.
Nice.
Love that.
All right, jumping into my number 4. This is a film I know has gotten quite a bit of acclaim. Kosh, 2005. Interesting movie in a lot of ways to me, and one of the ways I think it's the most is because I've never figured out actually who's the one kind of harassing these people and surveilling them. I've never really gone into the internet to do a deep dive on who it is. I've never I've seen the film a few times, but I've never just like paused and tried to like get into any theories about what's going on. Great performances. Juliette Binoche.
Yeah. I don't know how the hell she isn't on my list. She's like the most like principled queen French actress of the past
Yeah.
25 years. Yeah, she missed my list. Yeah.
So well, you're gonna get a call from her agent. So yeah, number 4, Kosh. Really like that movie.
People might think this is cheating. It's not cheating because it really is one movie, even though it's 2 movies. But like I'm holding the DVD, and it's just one movie, but it says part 1 and part 2. So it's really a 4-hour movie that's kind of 2 movies, but not. The Return of Vincent Cassel, Mizraim. true story of like one of the most famous French, just like gangsters of the 70s and 80s. Just I love crime movies, just like crime movies with like the bad guy and like the cops or the feds, after them. One of my favorite genres, and when done right, to me, it's sort of like the high point of cinema. And this movie has all the trappings of it, but all done very, very well. So like, not necessarily adding anything like gigantically new to the genre, but a special piece that I wish more people would see.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3. Reaching back a little bit before I was born, just a year. So
Okay.
I hope I don't get punished for this one.
Okay, cheating a little. So
Yeah.
in my lifetime, but not yours.
Yes.
Okay.
1980. This is 1980. I was born in 81. So this is Lulu.
Okay.
This is the second one on my list, directed by Pialat. Gerard Depardieu, to me, is an interesting international actor because I don't think there's a...
He's a mob boss in that.
Oh, he's the mob boss in that. Okay, well, there you go.
Of course he is.
I don't think there's really a good counterpart in English films for him.
I feel it's like he's like sort of the De Niro and sort of the Tom Hanks and sort of he's just like everything. He's
Okay.
like the romantic lead. He can play a mob boss. He can whatever you need.
Yeah.
Call that dude.
But he's perfect for this lead role in Lulu. I think that was earlier in his career,
His career's been massive and long, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's perfect as that guy. It's one of those ones. It's like you feel for the lead female character because she's like kind of a loveless marriage, and obviously isn't interested in her kind of strict, overbearing husband. So she falls for this kind of goofy street loser, and you kind of get why. But then she kind of quickly realizes, like, oh God, if you're like with this type of
Yes.
person, this is who you're
Yes,
with.
uh-huh.
So there's a little bit of a tragic feel to the end, but it's not all gloomy, and you kind of just feel like life is going to go on, and these people kind of seem like they're going to stay together. At least that's the feeling I got at the end of it.
For now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's-
talk about one where you don't know what's going to befall these characters after. Because
Exactly,
Everybody's
yeah.
a little,
Yeah, but just a kind of slight little slice of a movie that I really enjoyed. And again, it's like I know you could talk about films with Depardieu for a long time, but that one just fascinated me, being a little bit earlier in his career than some of the other ones I've
Yeah.
seen with him.
Yeah.
So that would be my number 3, Lulu.
Nice. Yeah. And Isabelle Hubert, another person that failed to make my list. So, yeah, I don't know how I did this.
Your phone's gonna be off the hook.
Yeah, jeez.
People yelling at you in
Not
French.
a person I would want to upset. My number 3, I've got 3 movies here to represent my number 3, because I don't even know which one to pick. These 3 people, what are they? Helene Catet and Bruno Fazzali. They're a directing team that have made these 3 absolutely fucking fabulous, fascinating. They're kind of like neo-giallos, but not really. Well, this one sort of is strange. Color of Your Body's Tears. I don't even know. Okay, I'm just going to pick Let the Corpses Tan. That's their most recent one and might be seen as like their signature piece. They're in production of their 4th feature, which I'm head over heels about now. Yeah, this movie is usually, I don't like movies that are like overtly stylized, particularly like in my advanced age. I'm just like, oh boy, just like fucking put the camera on a tripod and tell the story. But man, do these 2 people know how to do that? This is like, all these movies are, overtly, there's the quick cuts, there's the music. It's almost like all the bad tendency we learned in the 90s that you wish people would stop. These people have, these 2 people have kind of reinvented in their own way, and their movies are fascinating. I could watch these 3 movies all day long.
Right on. Well, we're down to number 2. Getting into my number 2. A Prophet. Un Profit. Here's one I see both ways. A Prophet
Okay,
or Un
yes.
Profit.
Yes.
So you get them both. The second one on my list by Adiard. Really enjoyed the film. I've seen it twice, and it's one that I will definitely watch again. I think that's why it's so high up, because I'm just really intrigued by it.
So he did Rust and Bone.
Yes.
Okay, nice,
yes.
nice, okay.
So to me, it's really about a movie of just someone who's trying to survive. Like, it's just truly like, this guy's just like, okay, how am I going to like live through this next half hour, like, and not get killed?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating from that aspect. It's very realistic. Like, we've heard about people putting razor blades in their mouths, like in films and shows and stuff, and it's just kind of like taken for granted. Like, when it shows him trying to do that for the first time, like, I picture that's how I would do it. Okay. Like, he puts it in there, it's just like, oh God, like, it's just like, God,
Yeah.
like, how do I get it? Like, he just, like, that's how I picture I would be doing it. And it's just cool to see some of that type of stuff, kind of the in-between details in this film. It has a powerful ending. The performances are great all around. I'm not going to get into too much of what happens between the rival gangs that he's caught in between. But again, just a really interesting, compelling story, and that's all the way up at number 2 for me. Profit.
Yeah. I think we mentioned this in one of our other reviews, just like the politics of crime movies and just like how hard it is. A lot of crime movies show like how dangerous it is and how, you're going to get shot at. And that's a movie that shows like the politics of it, of like, okay, how do I play both sides to just like, I'm not even trying to be like king shit here. I just want to not get shot in the back of the head.
Live. Yeah, that's it. Like, that's all he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And you definitely feel for the character.
Yeah.
In that.
Okay, my number 2, we'll call him, this was my movie of the decade. Usually when I see the phrase coming of age, like in the synopsis of a movie, I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ, I do not want to see a coming of age movie. I just hate that phrase. But this is probably my favorite coming of age movie of all time. It's Raw. Just, yeah, everybody who knows me knows I love this movie. Yeah, this is just, horror movies are the genre that I feel like a lot of people just like think like, yeah, sure, I'm going to like do horror. That's not even that hard. And it's just so rare to see somebody who's this gifted, of a filmmaker in general, and just this good at making horror movies. The waxing scene when the sisters are like, when the, one sister's waxing like her other sister. That scene is just the most perfectly calibrated, as perfectly as calibrated of a scene in a horror movie, just with the tension, how like the sensitivity of that, and then the scissors, and then, oh my God, that scene is just so perfect. And it's just, this movie is just so clearly the entrance of a major talent in Julia DeCarno, the director. It's just so captivating. It's just, I can't say enough good things about her as a filmmaker or that movie. Just a movie that is untouchable.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, for my number 1, this is one I do not see the French title often. A Diving Bell and a Butterfly.
Oh, wow, nice. Nice one, number 1.
This was probably the first French film I saw, maybe shortly after it came out, that just really stuck with me. It felt like a Best Picture winner without the pomp and some of the cringy stuff that you tend to get with Best Picture winners. It just, like, that's the story you tell a Best Picture about. Like, this guy who suffered this crazy accident, and he only has use of one eyeball.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of tell the end of his life in a very intriguing, cinematic way.
Yes.
Merci. Merci. Est-ce que je peux vous appeler Jean d'eau?
But yeah, you go along for the ride, and then all of a sudden there's the scene on the beach where like his kids are running around him, and I'm like in tears. And you don't realize it's coming. You don't get the like, okay, now you're going to cry, like that type of moment. It just hits you. You've been going along with this guy, and you're put in that position, and you feel the emotion. And then the Max von Sydow performance in that, where he's on the phone, it's just like, man, like the guy, in 5 minutes, like he just comes in. It's just like, give him some kind of a statue. I don't know, whatever. To be that good at playing his father. And just the grief as his father that he can't go see his son. He's stuck in his apartment, and his son has this debilitating injury. So, a lot to like about it. I'll put that as number 1. Yeah, like I said, it just has the combination of story, acting, directing, and just the right feel, as I said, of like a Best Picture winner, but without some of the, I don't know, more annoying stuff that comes along with that territory. So that one at my number 1, Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
My number 1, maybe kind of an obvious pick, but if anything was going to beat Raw, it was going to be this. This is one of those movies that I feel most people read about before they see. It's just kind of such a famous movie that, this is a movie that I sort of, when I saw it, I knew I was getting into, and I knew it was like, oh boy, this is going to be a tough one to watch. And Goodbye Children. Boom. What's the French name? You can say the French name.
Au revoir les enfants.
Boom. Yeah, nailed it. See, I can't do it as good as you did.
Probably not correct. But I did my best.
Autobiographical. Louis Malle was, that age when that shit was going on, and was friends with the Jewish kid in school. And again, one of those movies, before you watch it, you're like, okay, I know what this is about, and this is going to be absolutely terrifyingly heartbreaking. Yeah, just like the unsentimental nature of this movie is just, man, I don't think there's music besides when they play the piano. There's like no score, and just like the scene in the classroom everybody knows what I'm talking about. It would have been so easy to like hype that up with like dramatic music and a cool camera cut and close up, and it's just like you can tell the movie is what Maul remembers in his head of like what happened. When this incident occurred to him, and yeah, just an amazing piece.
Boom. That was Steve's number 1. So that wraps it all up. Those are our top 10 French films, and we said in our lifetime. We're going to have to narrow it down into chunks. But yeah, I dig it. I think we could do other foreign language films and pick pockets. I know. I won't mention Italian or German right now. You're just not ready to step into that space. Italian horror movies in the 70s. Could we do it?
No, that'd be tough. Yeah.
All right.
Wow. That'd be a long list. Maybe if we do a top 50 and just bore the fuck out of everybody.
Dude,
make sure nobody watches the channel again.
Top Italian horror movies in the 70s, and I've seen 2, but we're going to cover 50. So
get busy.
Good. Well, no, I enjoyed that. That was fun.
That was.
We will get into more like these. And as always, we will have more reviews, more content coming down the road in the future at Reaper's Moon Productions. Thank you for joining us, Doug Turner.
It's the main event anywhere in the country.
Hido, a.k.a. Kid Flick. We will catch you next time, folks. Thanks for joining us.